So my friend Real Dojimon and I decided to do a waste management raid versus Tapu Bulu. And the matchup we are trying here is Ho-Oh with Incinerate and Brave Bird in windy weather versus a double grass Tapu Bulu, which had grass knots. So when you run simulations for this raid, the Sims say that you time out, that you can't beat the raid with this moveset. And that's because you tend to waste energy by charging up Brave Birds that you don't actually get to fire. So the way that we beat the simulations in this raid is by not doing that and swapping out when we get to deep into the red in Ho-Oh's health. We will swap to the next Ho-Oh rather than waiting and doing extra incinerates that don't actually reach a Brave Bird. So yeah, the simulation times say that this is 7 seconds over. So the sim time is 614 seconds. When you divide that by 2, that's 7 seconds too slow for each player. So as you can see, we're now deep into the red with our Ho-Ohs, and Doge swaps and I die. But there's no energy wasted. We don't do any extra incinerates. We just go straight on to the next bird and charging up a new Brave Bird. And that is how you can optimize a raid to outperform a simulation. It's particularly the case with using one bar moves. Simulators such as pokebattler, they are really good and really super accurate, but they can't take into account the actions that a human can take. For example, swapping early, which is how we're going to outperform this simulation and get the win. One thing that's important when you're swapping like this is that you don't just swap to the next Pokemon. So you use the first Pokemon in your party. If you were to swap to your second, when the second dies, it will try to bring back in the first. So what you always have to do is swap to the last available Pokemon in your party. So you would use your Ho-Ohs in the order of 1, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And the reason you do that is if you swap from your first to your sixth, and say your sixth dies, you don't need to swap, it just dies at the exact right time, the game will bring in your second Ho-Oh, which is fine, that's perfect. And it just stops that awkward situation where a mon that you swapped out of earlier comes back into the battlefield and it's not got enough health to reach a Brave Bird, so you just waste time. So that's why we're swapping in a slightly odd order here. So in terms of this raid, this is going pretty well. We flipped the Bulu HP yellow at about, I think it was just ahead of 150. So we were ahead on time, and we're coming down to quarter health left when it flips red, which I believe we do well over 75 seconds. So we're doing quite well here. This raid is going nicely. So this should flip it red. Yeah, so we're red ahead of 75. And this says that we're on track to get the win, despite, again, that simulation of saying 614 seconds. Yeah, it's quite nice to do this raid because Ho-Oh is definitely one of my favourite Pokemon, and as you can see, I have quite a range powered up. Most of them are different hidden powers that I've used for various challenges over time. I did power up one for this challenge just because I did already have 6 at level 40, but one was Sacred Fire and was not second moved. So I didn't want to TM it and then have to ETM it back again. So I just made a new one. But yeah, as you can see, we're just coming down to the last few seconds of the raid. And I think this final Brave Bird kills it. And there we go. So this was a waste management duo in Windy, using level 40 Ho-Ohs, incinerate Brave Bird into a bullet seed grass knot Tapu Bulu. And as you can see, Doge did just a tiny bit more damage than me. He must have gotten one more incinerate through than I did. But yeah, that was a really fun raid. Not too many attempts that we did this on our second try. So yeah, super fun.